Now, if you've ever wanted to try fasting, especially to lose some weight or for better metabolism, which one should you do? And what are the different types of fasting that you can try to achieve your goals of losing those inches? And because there are so many fasting methods out there, it can be quite confusing. So, if you are a beginner or if you are a pro looking to try out different fasting methods, or you just want to know how it all works, well, that's what I'm going to help you with. Now, before you understand the different types of fasting, the question is that why should you fast? Or how does it help you with weight loss? The thing is that fasting does something really cool. Now, when you fast, your body switches from using carbohydrates to using stored fats for energy, as you're consuming lesser calories overall. And this change triggers a process that is called autophagy. Autophagy is when your cells clean out all the damaged parts to stay healthy. Basically, think of them doing a self cleanup or like a reboot. But with so many fasting methods floating around, it can be very hard to figure out where to start. Well, guess what? Because today I'm going to break it all down together and I'll walk you through some fasting methods that will help you lose weight. So, whether you're a total beginner or you're fasting for years, well, there is something here for you. Now, the very first type of fasting is what is called or termed as the warrior diet, which refers to a specific intermittent type of fasting which is developed by a scientist and a former member of the Israeli Special Forces. It's called a warrior diet because it's inspired by eating patterns of ancient warriors. So these warriors, they just ate very little during the day and they had one large meal at night. And that's why it is called the warrior diet. So a warrior diet typically involves fasting for 20 hours each day and consuming all the calories in just that 4 hour of eating window. So usually that is in the evening. And during this fasting period, they eat small amounts of raw fruits, vegetables, and as well as proteins, which are allowed during this time. And these foods are referred as undereating or controlled fasting portions. And the whole idea of this is that it's going to help you manage hunger and maintain energy levels during the fasting period. However, the emphasis of this fasting is majorly to consume minimal calories and also trying to just stick to water, herbal tea, or some kind of non-caloric beverages during the fasting phase. Now, this scientist has proposed this eating pattern because he believes that it aligns with the body's natural circadian rhythm. And it may benefit from many things like improved fat loss, increased energy levels, and even enhanced mental clarity. And the reason it's called a warrior diet because it's typically eating like warriors, where their main meal, often referred to as a feast, is consumed during that 4 hour window in the evening. Because what warriors used to do is during the day, they would fight, and by night they would feast, pretty much where it gets the name from. And typically, the feast consists of large portions of whole nutrient dense foods because it helps them provide nourishment and also satisfaction after that whole fasting period. Now you have the 16 by 8 fasting method, and this is also simple and effective. And in fact, it's the most popular amongst all. So if you are a beginner, then the best that you should try out is the 16 by 8 method of intermittent fasting. And it is famous because it is simple, flexible, and effective for weight loss and your health. So what you do is that you fast for 16 hours each day and you eat during an 8 hour window. And it's easy to stick to and it fits with different lifestyles, and you can also combine it with various diets. So whether you're vegan, vegetarian, or even non-vegetarian, you can follow this. Now the benefit of this is that it may help you improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and promote fat burning. And if you feel that 16 by 8 fasting is difficult, then you can start with 12 by 12. That means you eat for 12 hours and you fast for 12 hours. And if you want to pick it up a bit, you can do 14 by 10, which is you fast for 14 hours and you eat only during the 10-hour window. And once you're comfortable with the 14 by 10, you can go and pick up a notch to 16 by 8, which is fasting for 16 hours and eating during the 8-hour window. Then you have one more kind of famous fast, which is called one meal a day. Now, this is one kind of fast that has also caught a lot of attention. So let me just explain what this fast is. As the name suggests, it's one meal a day. Now, one meal a day is a form of fasting that has been around for centuries, but it doesn't have a single originator because various cultures and individuals throughout history have practiced different forms of fasting where they have consumed just one meal a day. And nowadays, the modern adaptation of one meal a day diet has just gained a lot of popularity through different proponents and even communities, and even through things like social media, where people are very interested in this kind of intermittent fasting and alternate dietary approaches. While it is very challenging to do a one meal a day because you just have to eat one meal in the entire day, but this concept has gained a lot of tractions, and individuals are sharing their experiences and successes with this one meal a day on social media, blogs, even other online platforms. So if you want to try it out, then one meal a day is very simple. Just try and consume one good, whole, nutrient dense meal a day, and for the rest of your 24 hours, you are fasting. And during those fasting periods, you might just have something like a herbal tea or something that's almost non caloric. Now, the next kind of diet you have is the 5 is to 2 diet. Now, the 5 is to 2 diet just involves eating normally for 5 days of the week and restricting calorie intake to around 500 to 600 calories for the remaining 2 consecutive days. And on fasting days, individuals typically consume low calorie foods. So, you're supposed to just eat fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and small portions of grains. And this was, in fact, his book that was titled The Fast Diet: Lose Weight, Stay Healthy, and Live Longer with the Simple Secret of Intermittent Fasting. So, if you like or if you want to know more about the 5 is to 2 diet, well, you can just go ahead and buy the book. Now, one of the other kind of fasting is called Eat, Stop, Eat. Now, Eat, Stop, Eat is a fasting approach which is developed by a nutrition expert and author. So what you do here is that you fast for a complete 24-hour period once or twice a week. For example, you might have dinner one evening and then you don't eat until the following day dinner. So this might sound quite challenging, but many people find it quite easy once they get used to it. And like some other fasting methods, such as your 5 is to 2 diet, Eat Stop Eat doesn't require any kind of calorie counting or specific food restrictions on those non-fasting days. Instead, you're encouraged to eat balanced meals based on any kind of nutritional needs and preferences that you have. And while there is no strict dietary guidelines, Eat Stop Eat method will often emphasize on the importance of choosing whole foods and nutrient dense foods to support your overall health and well-being, rather than foods that are not nutrient dense. Then you have another type of fasting which is called alternate day fasting. Now, alternate day fasting is a fasting approach where individuals alternate between fasting days and non-fasting days. Now, on fasting days, your calorie intake is reduced or completely eliminated, while on non-fasting days, people quite eat normally. Now let's take the fasting days. So on fasting days, people typically consume very few calories. They often it ranges from around 0 to 25% of their estimated daily energy needs. And then there are some variations of alternate day fasting which allow you to have a small meal or a snack that contains around 500 calories, while others involve completely fasting with no calorie intake. And on non-fasting days, people just eat normally. So basically, they are consuming their usual calorie intake without any restrictions. So what this does is that it provides a break from fasting and allows you to get just adequate nutrition and energy replenishment. And normally the frequency of alternate fasting typically involves fasting every other day. So that results into fasting to eating ratio which is almost like 1 is to 1, where you're eating today and you're fasting tomorrow, and then again you're eating and you're fasting and you're eating and fasting. And there are also some variations of this fasting which include fasting for 2 days followed by 1 day of regular eating, resulting into fasting to eating ratio of 2 is to 1. Now the next kind of fasting that we're going to talk about are the extended fasting, and the very first one in these are your 24-hour fast. Now this involves you fasting for a full day, typically from dinner to dinner or lunch to lunch, and it's a great way to reset your body and jumpstart your health goals. Then you also have something which is called your 36-hour fast. Now what you do is you extend your fasting for beyond a full day to 36 hours, and it might seem very difficult for some, but many people find it manageable as long as they have a proper hydration and mindset. And then you have a 48-hour fast. So people take it a step further, which is fasting straight for 2 consecutive days, totaling to 48 hours without food. And this method requires careful planning and preparation, and the benefits can be very significant. Now, extended fasts are for those who are experienced, and also if you're doing an extended fast, just make sure that you have medical supervision because it can last for several days or even weeks. And even though it has a lot of benefits, it should be attempted with a lot of caution and proper guidance. So, if you are a beginner, just make sure that you are properly guided or just visit a health professional. Now, there are also some beginner level fasts, which is your spontaneous meal skipping. Let's say you don't feel like eating or you don't feel like just having a meal. Simply just skip the meal. It's simple, it's flexible, and it's a good way to practice intermittent fasting without any rigid rules. So if you like it, you can just go ahead and follow it. Then you also have something which is called your circadian rhythm fasting. So you align your fasting period with your body's natural circadian rhythm, such as eating during daylight hours or following a schedule that just matches your personal sleep and wake up cycle. So it's all about working with your body's internal clock to maintain your optimal health, which also people have seen results in weight loss. Well, there you have it. Now, when it comes to your fasting, just make sure that if you are a beginner, start with the ones that are easy. Try them out and see which one works best for you. Remember that you don't really need to go to all these pro level fast immediately. Just find a method that suits you and just go for it. And if it doesn't, you can always try another method. Now, I've categorized these diets into what is beginner and what's pretty much like a pro. But if you want to try any of them, feel free to try. But if you're trying the ones that are really over 24 hours, just make sure that you are consulting with a health professional. And in the comments, let me know what was your experience with fasting. And until we meet again next, don't stress and be awesome. Rocher that.